For people that aren't necessarily going to do the traditional firm, go work and be an associate, what are some pieces of advice that you can give to them just in your own journey and in speaking to over 200 people about different paths people take?
Make sure you know, like, financially what you're getting into with law school. This is just, I guess, law school advice, like, or people who aren't going to take a path like the traditional path. Know, like, why you're going to law school. Like, if you don't have a traditional path, like if you don't want to be a trial lawyer or like a transactional lawyer, know what you want to do and have a connection there and work your way to do that, and find somebody who's doing the work that you want to do, and then just kind of latch on and try to like learn everything you can or get a job or, you know, learn as much as you can. Make your law school work for you too. You pay them enough. Like, they should be, don't let them tell you that you need to just get your grades up, because especially when they tell you explicitly on their wall that they help people, 100% of the class, get internships. Make sure they are true to their word.
The power of social media meets the world of law. I met Ben doing his podcast during the pandemic. He was on the ground floor of connecting with lawyers and telling their stories. His unconventional path and journey resonated with many stories I previously knew that were not yet told. Join me as we talk shop, reminisce about our past, and how he is launching a new service designed to take his podcast to the next level with Lawyer Stories Connect.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Benjamin Gold. As you can tell in the background, he is the founder of Lawyer Stories, a podcast and Instagram series that interviews lawyers. Ben, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday. I know you're a family man, so again, appreciate your time.
It's all good, Logan. Great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So I always start with a real short bio. Why don't you give the audience a little thumbnail sketch of your background?
My name is Ben Gold. I am the founder of Lawyer Stories. If we're talking legal related, we founded in 2017 on Instagram. That's my kind of side hustle that I'm building, my side business. Full-time, I work in public housing as the executive director of 5 public housing authorities out here in central Massachusetts. So, you know, I'm very grateful for my job. I have great staff. And, you know, it's really cool to be able to get back to the people and, like, you know, be able to have a job like that that's very impactful for people.
Totally.
So I do that. I'm licensed to practice in 3 states: Maine, Massachusetts, and Connecticut.
Okay.
And then I kind of just found my way in this housing thing for a while. I was an attorney working landlord-tenant law back in the day before I became an executive director.
Okay. So how did that transition look for you from being a traditional attorney into a role as an advocate for housing?
You know, I've done the last about 13, 14 years in housing. I moved to Connecticut. It's all part of the story. I think it's all part of like the greater picture of like why I actually started Lawyer Stories. And, you know, I passed the Connecticut bar while I was living in Maine. I'm from Maine, Portland, Maine originally. I've lived like all around New England. Here's my Dunkin' Donuts this afternoon.
The Matt Damon and Ben Affleck would be
there
happy.
We go. Yeah, man. So I got a job, actually. I moved to in with a law school friend. Shout out to John Wetmore, who bought a house in Connecticut, and I basically had no job. I was looking for jobs. I didn't get a job through my law school. It wasn't like a heavily recruited attorney. So I found like a temp job on Craigslist. I went in there. I happened to find this. I got interviewed, got the job as basically a temp. It became temp to hire. I moved to New Haven, lived downtown, worked that job for like 4 years or so. Got a lot of experience doing landlord-tenant, working in the legal department as an attorney, landlord-tenant. This was for the Public Housing Authority down there. So I learned a lot of stuff. Very difficult environment, but I learned a lot. Had another stint at a different housing authority in Connecticut. And then, I found this job one night when I was just looking around, and there was something in Massachusetts, and I didn't even know like what part of Mass really I had, because it's like a lot of people, when you say Massachusetts, it's like Boston and everything else, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Boston, maybe like the Berkshires, or Boston and like basically everything else. So anyway, I found this job. I'm like, okay, I could live there. And I'm from Maine, so I looked at it was like half the distance back to where I'm from. I'm like, man, I'm gonna try to get this job. So I ended up getting a job as assistant director at a housing authority again. And then my boss left a few years later, great guy. And I got appointed as executive director. So then I've been there as executive director for like 5 years in May, and it'll be actually 10 years overall. And
Wow.
it's a good gig. I still feel connected to my law roots because I treat it almost like as I try to look at it through the lens of like a general counsel, the way I handle my business there, and I
Sure.
manage a lot of people, like do deal with a lot of personnel stuff. But that's sort of how I got there, and then along the way, I founded Lawyer Stories, which has been like just an amazing adventure on its own. And by the way, we have Logan Quirk on the Lawyer Stories podcast, episode 105. By the way, it aired August 2022. And so that we've done over 200 episodes now, and you were 105, man. So we've actually made about twice as many episodes since you've been on.
Yeah, I was on the Instagram and I saw you had a pretty rock star lineup, man. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
Thank you. All your success on that. That's really neat. I saw you did Ben Crump and Gloria Allred. So
yeah, man, it was great. I'll tell you, I sat behind it and started doing podcasts. I was like, wow, I love this. Like, I love doing this. Like, it really felt good. So thank you very much.
Thanks for joining me today. So how did Lawyer Stories come about?
Yeah, man. So basically the journey I just told you about, it was kind of up and down. It was tough to get jobs. Like, my law school didn't help me too much. No hate on them. But that's just how it was.
I feel like a lot of lawyers have that same story.
And, I was just kind of like, wow, this is tough. Bar exam wasn't easy for me. Got it done. And then, moved somewhere without a job. And I was just kind of like, man, just living in all these states. I mean, I lived in Connecticut. I'm from Maine originally. I went to undergrad at UMass Amherst. And then I went to law school in Rhode Island. Then I moved to I was back in Maine. Then I moved to Connecticut. So I've been all around New England, so basically I'm like, if I have a journey, I bet other people have journeys about their paths to becoming lawyers. And one day I saw I don't know if you're familiar with Humans of New York, but there's this guy who interviews people on the street in New York. And
I've seen the book. Yeah.
He has it's on social media too, but he has these stories, in the narrative form of these people, and these people are just talking about their stories, how they got to where they are. And it's just a piece of their story. I'm like, man, I'd love to hear lawyers talk like this. And not in a way that makes them weak, but just about their journey, in a different way, So I started with 5 people on Instagram. I told them what I was going to do, 5 lawyers I knew, and they sent me their stories. And, that was it. Then I just kept going. I kept going and going and going. And just really haven't stopped yet.
That's neat. Did you foresee this becoming what it's become, or did you just kind of start it as a project and kind of see where it went from there?
It was a passion project, so I really didn't know what to expect. And after a while, when I saw people connecting in the comments and stuff, and I've had a couple people tell me that they've met close friends, or they met a referral source through my Instagram page, I started thinking, well, okay, this is something. I don't exactly know what it is, but I know I'm onto something. So it really kind of took a while to figure it out, and in the process, I've just been featuring people. So I didn't really start it to become an LLC, but now it is an LLC.
Yeah, that's neat. I saw in preparation for this, I saw a couple of interviews, and I know it's a community of lawyers, but it said a lot of them are millennials. Talk about some of the common threads that you've noticed in your interviews with the lawyers and going on, I think, 4 or 5 seasons now.
You mean the millennial lawyers? I think the younger lawyers, we talk about mentors sometimes, if they need a mentor, how important that is. Talking about launching their own firms and that sort of thing. Who to turn to, when they need time, what the right legal tech is to take, because there's so much stuff out there. What cases to take. I think all that's in play. Talking to millennials, and just having a community. That's why, and I think we're going to talk about it later, but we launched Lawyer Stories Connect because we feel it's important for these attorneys, doesn't have to be younger, to have a community to turn to. Have a place if they need a referral, or if they come to me and say, hey, I'm looking for this or that sort of thing. The profession is different now. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I see with some of the younger attorneys.
Yeah. And I noticed in listening to a couple episodes, and some of them resonated with my story. The traditional brick and mortar firm or working at a big firm kind of got thrown on its head when we came out of law school in 2008 time frame.
Yep.
But another theme I recognize that I was struggling with is the flexibility to work in different offices, different locations, kind of make your own hours. Is that something that's been a really common thread throughout your stories?
I think people want to start their own firm because they want to be able to work wherever they can and when they can. Some people might produce better in the evening than in the morning. They don't necessarily want to sit there in an office. I think also like the billing type of thing is something that's questioned for people, billing hours and all that stuff. So I think that's to be seen, being able to have the flexibility to work from, a cabin in like Montana or like work from like whatever state you want and still get, produce quality work is definitely a big thing, especially after COVID too. I mean, I think, a lot of people came out after COVID are just so used to working that it's silly to, waste almost to go back to the office.
Yeah, I think a silver lining, and COVID was bad for a lot of people, but for the legal profession, it kind of forced the courts to adopt modern technology and allow remote appearances. And I think that accelerated the growth of people working in different places and being able to work from home, work from another office or wherever it may be. And I think that was a positive change for our profession because it kind of forced us to catch up with the times,
It's definitely something that was not traditional in the profession. That's for sure.
You and I probably don't look like traditional lawyers. We both are wearing hats, not wearing a suit and tie. Have you noticed in your journey throughout Lawyer Stories, the suit and tie traditional attorneys kind of taking a backseat, or talk to me about that?
I think it's interesting after talking to like so many lawyers and meeting and talk. I think everybody thinks they're, and I don't mean to say negative by this, but a lot of people think they're doing something different, But I think at the end of the day, it is, a lot of it is still pretty traditional, like suit and tie stuff. I mean, I think, I don't know. I think if you're not going to court, maybe not that sort of thing. Or if don't have like a big meeting or a client coming in, like you can get away with it. But I think some traditional lawyer, I think some younger kids do want to be like a traditional lawyer and take pride in wearing like suits and ties and getting dressed up and like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I always struggle with the suit and tie. I'd have to go to court and like immediately when I left, I was ripping all of it off, going to the office in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So,
my quasi-government role, like we used to wear a tie every day and I don't do that anymore. It's like, I don't know. There's just, I don't see like a need for it. Occasionally I will for meetings, but not like all the time. Yeah. It's funny you said that because we did have a lawyer once for something we were doing. And I think, I do think there is something to be said for an attorney who's like, looks pretty polished and like, at least looks like they know what they're doing. I think people still want that, but then there's the people who don't really care and they just want to be able to connect with their attorney. And as long as they're doing the work, that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess it depends, right? Great answer.
It depends. The total legal answer.
Yeah,
we learned in law school. It depends. So you got into the social media space really soon, and it's been a big impetus for your growth. What have you learned in talking to some of these attorneys and their use of social media to help propel their brand or to help get the word out or generate referrals? Tell me a little bit about the role of social media in the field of law right now.
First of all, a lot of people have people who actually do their social media for them. Like there's a lot of social media marketers out there. There's a lot of people who will take control of your accounts. They know how to work the algorithm. They know how to, hashtag and give you the best results possible. It's interesting you ask because a lot of these attorneys are the same people. Like if you go on to like LinkedIn and then if you go on to Instagram, you see the same like 15, 20, 30 attorneys all the time. And they're always together and they're always like at an event or a conference or like whatever. And it's just, it is a community, but some of it also feels like high school, to be honest. Like, and these are the people that are out there like they're just like maximizing everything they can on social media, be it a podcast, be it posts, be it quotes, be it giving it like not advice, but like information. And it's the same people and they're really just trying to maximize their exposure, get clients that way. So that's one way of doing it. I mean, I think it's helpful for everyone. I think clients want to look and see that you have some sort of like a footprint. I know if I hire somebody at at my office, like I try to look them up, and like a lot of the time you can't even find them anywhere. So I think it's good and bad. I think like, we've talked on my show about good and bad things with social media, like what you should put out there and what you shouldn't. I mean, people want to see their lawyer like being like a family person or like doing appropriate things. They don't necessarily want to like know their person for, doing things that are really not like acceptable, I guess, or just kind of don't look that professional. I could start listing a few, but I won't. But there are those like attorneys out there who make you feel like they're the only attorneys in the game. I mean, because they're out there and they're so like pervasive across all platforms. It's crazy.
I kind of came into it late, but what I've kind of learned or gleaned from a lot of people is it's kind of the new validation. It used to be you go on to review sources and kind of read people's feedback, and that's still a big thing. Google reviews, Yelp reviews, all the reviews. But I think with the younger generation, a lot of people get their information like where to go eat at a restaurant. They're on TikTok, like looking up stuff, and
totally.
I think that it helps humanize lawyers and show their personality and their authenticity, because a lot of times if you just go on a website, it could be something that's not entirely genuine, and it could be something that is maybe a little too polished, so you get a little bit of the grittier or more authentic personality for social media.
I mean, that's what we try to do, show the authentic side. I don't know if all the people out there are trying to be authentic with like what they're hyping up about themselves, but have people come on and share their authentic and genuine story with us. So but I told you, totally understand. I think social media is good. I also think it could be bad in terms of mental health and like seeing people almost like living their dream life all the time. It's almost like everything that they're doing is a huge event, and they're just happy all the time. And I think like some people, like even young lawyers, like who would see that, like might feel like they're behind or like not doing as good as they should be doing, or they're missing out, or they're not making as much money. When there's reality, everybody starts, if you're starting yourself alone, everybody starts like from the bottom, like with those first scrapping for those first few cases.
Yeah, it's nice to see a few of the lawyers, excuse me, post their struggles and talk to you like, hey, about failures and whatnot. And it's nice to see that some people are vulnerable enough to go ahead and put out the reality behind the law. It's not always super pretty, and it can be stressful, and it's not always roses, And
I think it's good for clients to sometimes see that too. Like, you're a real person. Like, we want you to fight hard, win our case, and don't be like a wuss about it. You know what I'm saying? But we also want them to see that like they're like a real person who, is really going to fight for you. And this person's a genuine person. This person, this is where they're from. This is like a piece of their story that they connect with. This is something that, you never know when you're putting out your story on Lawyer Stories, you never know who's reading it from anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah. So in your 200 plus episodes, are there some tidbits that you could maybe give out to help out some attorneys that might be coming into this social media game a little later? Some of the younger lawyers who are starting their career. You mentioned there's some good sides of social media and some bad sides. So throughout your 200 episodes, what are some tidbits that you could give away if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're doing a good job with like the clips that you put out and stuff on your podcast Instagram. I think like that's good. Get some good clips of yourself. Get some reels in there of you like talking and like maybe giving like a little piece of some legal information, not necessarily advice. People want to see that. I think connecting with bigger accounts, people who are lawyers who've been doing it for a long time, try to message them, get a hold of them, and show your interest with them. I think that is huge, and like that could help you as long as they're willing to help a young person. I think consistency is key too. Like, one thing I noticed is like people, they'll have an idea, they'll start it, or they don't start it, and if they do start it, they just won't continue doing it. You have to be consistent with it, especially social media. You want to post, like try to post daily on it. I know it can be a lot, but definitely try to post daily. Try to meet like new connections, and again, try to find those bigger accounts that are gonna help you out with that.
Yeah, and I think a theme that's kind of developing is the collaborative effort. A lot of people think that, they're not going to help me, but if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to know. And there are a lot of lawyers who are willing to share their time and their resources and their expertise and help out younger people, or maybe not even younger people, just people who haven't been exposed or taken the plunge yet to get into the social media space?
There's definitely a lot of people out there who will. And I'll point you in the right direction if you need to find out.
Definitely. You're like a Rolodex for attorneys now.
I try. I want to get into the referral game a little bit, man. We have a brand new website, thelawyerstories.com.
I know you just launched this website, and I know a few other attorneys are starting communities and referral sharing type sites and whatnot. Tell us about Law Stories Connect and how you decided to go down that route as well.
I mentioned earlier that I didn't know for a long time what it was, and now we do several things. I mean, we've had some really good events. We've had events in Miami, Manhattan. We have our next one in New York City, Boston, Brooklyn, and we do, we feature people. We have the podcast, but we also, and so we just launched because I feel like I've met and connected with so many like attorneys and people who are just have such vast information and just quality type of people. We launched something called Lawyer Stories Connect, which is very low priced monthly membership where, we're going to try to, we'll promote you like through our membership. We'll, give you some exposure. We have a brand new website. Thank you to courtesy of law firm sites. It's thelawyerstories.com. And one of the sections there is for membership. And we're putting all of our members on the page with a link to their website open, the link back. We are featuring our members obviously on social media. We're doing we actually are excited to announce we're having our first CLE webinar.
Yeah, I saw that. That's neat, man. Getting some educational stuff for the bar out of the way.
Yep. So we're going to start offering CLEs. The first one's going to be a credit and a half on March 5th. And we're going to open that up to like everybody, not just members, just so people can get like a taste. And we're going to try to keep them rolling. So hopefully we know enough people that'll keep teaching these things, and it'll be open to our membership. So another thing that we're doing like that I think is really important. We've only done 2 of them so far, but we'll have another one coming up. Actually, I think this week is roundtable discussions. So basically, like we get on Zoom, we have a topic, and we discuss it, and it could be anything. We've talked about mental health. We talked about starting a firm. So we get, some people in there, and I think it could be beneficial if used in the right way for attorneys, maybe like a solo or a smaller firm. They get to connect with people and talk about issues like while being a lawyer. So I think that's a big value that we're offering. For a higher up member, or not even higher up, of founding members, we sent out plaques, like the little plaques that you get. We have a digital badge that'll go on your website and can link back to us that says you're a member of Lawyer Stories Connect. We have a listserv of over 700 attorneys. And we also do email blasts. We're going to be doing an email blast. We have like 14,000 people on our email list. So we're just trying to give exposure and add value any way we can. I'm always happy to like connect people with each other. That's sort of a fun thing for me to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what Lawyer Stories Connect's all about. If you want to check it out, check on our website. It's a really nice.
Yeah, and I'll link to it. And a couple things I like about it is what you mentioned, the role of roundtables and talking about some issues that probably hadn't been talked about before and kind of were repressed, like the role of mental health. And that's something I've noticed with a lot of lawyers in the last 5 years, is the push to bring this to the forefront and openly talk about how some people, how they deal with stress and the healthy ways of dealing with stress and the role of mentorship. And some people don't have access to a bunch of lawyers. So it's nice that you're giving a platform for these people to learn from and hear other stories about, because these dialogues, I don't think were accessible to a lot of people before. When we were first starting.
I feel like this is turning into something I wish I had. And I never thought about that, but I go back to my story and telling you about it. Like, I didn't really know, man. I was studying for a bar in a state I wasn't living in. I didn't know where to live. I didn't really want to go back to Maine because there wasn't a lot of opportunity. Like, I kind of wanted to be in Mass because it's closer to Maine. Maine's like that's where I'm from. I want to go there in the summer. I end up in New Haven, which is like a 4-hour drive from Maine. And so it's sort of like, I didn't really know where to go. I didn't have somebody like helping me out and saying, hey, like, with your personality, maybe you should do this. Like, I kind of always thought I ended up in PI, to be honest, like, because I love torts. I loved product liability. I liked those classes. Like, I thought there were coolest cases. Like, and I actually did pretty well in criminal procedure. I did well in. So I think what it is, it's actually evolving into something I really wish I had.
Yeah.
As a young attorney, because now it's like if you really look back at it, I'm still not working at a law firm. I didn't launch my own law firm. I'm working at government, which I'm so grateful for, man. I have a great gig
Yeah.
with a great staff, and I get to be connected still to the profession through this and talk to people
Yeah.
like Logan Quirk and like have these incredible events, man. Our events are awesome. Like last couple events, we probably had 100 people there.
The different journeys people take. And a lot of people are scared because they may not have a pathway set in front of them. And like myself, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I just kind of stumbled my way through and I kind of found myself here. And it's nice to see that a lot of people don't have the pathway laid out. They don't have their 10-year plan set in place, but as long as you put your nose down and you open yourself up to opportunities and there's a way, and you might find something that's more comfortable, and you might not be the traditional lawyer. You might be the Benny Gold working at a housing authority, launching a podcast on the side that's now parlaying into a second career. So there's so many divergent pathways for people.
And what's interesting about the legal profession today is like there's so many people out there willing to help. Like shout out to my guy Neil Goldstein. I mean, he is a millennial. He's not a millennial, but excuse me, he wants to help millennials. He's been through it over 30 years as a personal injury attorney in New York, and has a crazy story. And there's people out there now who you can turn to, even if you don't know them as like a personal mentor. Like your friend doesn't say, "Hey, here's my so-and-so. He's going to be your mentor," or like this person at law school is going to be your mentor. Like you could literally find a mentor online. You could find it online. Like there's people out there. It might cost something, but we like I said, Lawyer Stories Connect's like turning into something that I wish I had. And I think even if these students coming out and they don't have like that path laid out for them, there are definitely resources that can, I think, help them more than ever figure it out. I think I take a lot of responsibility for it too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not throwing it all in my law school on. Like, I didn't, I could have done better as a student. I got a little distracted by some things. I never really figured out I never thought about what state I should be in. I probably should have done more externships classes like trial ad, which I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was just a piece of me that should have done some of that stuff. I mean, I don't have any regrets, but I definitely take accountability for a lot of it.
There's a lot of people that do plan well and do take the necessary work and preparation to build their career into what they want to build into. But for a lot of people, you go into law school and you're like, I want to be a lawyer, but that's all you may know. You might not know by year 3 that you want to be a personal injury attorney, a landlord-tenant attorney, a prosecutor, a public defender,
right,
whatever it may be. And I think nowadays a lot of people take a job and then they just keep working that job and then they start feeling stuck. And then they're like, well, I'm stuck. I'm not happy. And the one nice thing about this platform is there's some stories out there of like, hey, I was stuck, but I managed to find another route, and my vibe attracted my tribe, to use your words. And it's it's nice to see other people going through the same issues and seeing, okay, there is a pathway to get to something maybe that might bring me more joy and peace and expose myself to more people.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing I like what you're doing is you're doing live events. So it's not all online, because online is cool. But when I started my podcast, I like talking to people in person, and I can't wait to go to one of your events. Talk to me about the role of these live events and how it helped enhance building lawyer stories, and then overall to the launch of your new Law Stories Connect website.
So I did my first ever episode in person. We set it up in the room that we had our event, and we did a podcast. It was great. It went really well. It was fun, being mic'd up. You got the cameras around. It was pretty cool. So the live events have been great. I've learned a lot through different ones of that, different events, such as like, do we charge for the event? Do we not? But that's like a different issue. But as far as like our sponsors, our partners, and like other brands who sponsored us to have these events, they're just incredible. They've been generous with us. Like they want to be a part of it. They want to speak at it. So that's been fun to be able to have the events in the first place. When people walk into our event, and I see them and I know them from Instagram, man, let me tell you, like, it feels like my Instagram page is coming to life. And I'm just like, I get so fired up for these things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like I start calling people by like their Instagram handle. It's just a really good vibe. We usually an open bar, a little bit of food, like we'll do a little talking, like we'll speak a little bit about like what we do. And we just try to have people like network. We'll give them a prompt to like talk to each other about like share a piece of your story, just stuff like that. It's really only been sort of a mixer. We haven't had time or resources yet to do like a panel or whatnot. Although we have had speakers. We had some speakers in Boston at our Boston event. But yeah, so our events have been a lot of fun. I really enjoy getting out there, like meeting people and telling them about like what we're doing and spreading the word and like slinging some hats around, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I noticed you got some fresh merch, man, on your site, and you're wearing one of your hats.
Yeah, this one isn't on the web. This one isn't on the Shopify. These I ordered for myself, but
that's neat. Yeah, tell us about the role of like the fun behind developing motor stories, and you got a big personality. You can tell just from talking to you, and you've kind of crafted the lawyer stories to reflect your personality. So tell us about the backside of doing this to try and have some fun with it. And it's not just merely a business venture, but you're doing it because it was your passion, but it's also fun, I imagine, right?
It is. It's so much fun. Like, for instance, this past Miami event, I had like, I have a t-shirt design that was kind of looked like I'm a huge Celtics fan, but it had Miami Heat have like the cool like script and like pink. So I had one of those like put on, said lawyer stories on like a black t-shirt, and like, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of fun with it, man. I like making like the hats. I want it to reflect like my personality. People like just, I don't know, like a different sort of vibe of like attorneys. Like, I don't really know what the descriptive words for it would be, but I don't want it to be like, super buttoned up, like super, just I just want it to reflect like how this is as a brand, right?
Yeah. So I think what I've taken away from just doing some preparation, talking to you and seeing some of your podcasts is the way law has evolved a little bit more. There's still the traditional suited up attorneys, but it's become more casual and more open to people. Like I have a story when I was first starting out. I went to a networking group and I had Nikes on, and the people were like, we don't want this guy because he's at Nikes. He's on a suit and tie. And I was like, that's fine. You can get in where you fit in now, Yeah. And that's kind of been the nice thing is I've been to other events that are more formal and they all have their place, but it's nice to see people like you offering an alternative, looser, more casual event where people can come, let their guard down a little bit and be more of themselves and still get the same benefits that they would at another conference.
That's it. It's okay to be yourself. That's like Coach's kind of the vibe. Like, come in, be yourself, come hang out. I mean, I wear the Nikes like with a blazer and a t-shirt. That's like my thing. You know what I mean? So
that's your uniform, right?
Be yourself, like, have a good time, like share some of your story. But, when it's time to do business, you do business, but like, let's have fun, let's have a good time. Like, and I love hearing the stories, it was a genuine thing. It didn't enter this thing through the eyes of a legal marketer. I entered it as a passion project. A lot of marketers have reached out to me and said, hey, like, we need to blow this like through the sky. Like, this is what we need to do. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I'll think about that sort of proposition. But, this is something I care a lot about and I work on all the time.
It's your baby, man.
Yeah.
And in being in the social media space, I'm sure you get the messages like I do. Hey man, we want to take you to the next level. We want to blow you. And it's like, just get inundated and you almost get overwhelmed and you're like, you don't want to give up creative control, but at some point, if you're busy enough, you want to hire the right people, but they got to fit your vision of what you want to see, where your brand or your referral side or law stories is going. You don't want to lose that character with which you started, So
right. Totally.
It's a hard balance to achieve sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And so like little by little, I sort of like let things go. Like I have people do my clips now and I have, for the podcast and I have a producer for the podcast, like stuff like that I couldn't manage on myself.
That's when I started this podcast, I'm only on episode, I think this will be number 9, but I knew there was no way in hell that I could do everything myself and maintain a full-time job. So the role of bringing people in, and there are people that don't charge an arm and a leg that are willing to help you out and do a great job. So finding the right people to fit the right places and being able to delegate that out as long as they fit your vision and fit what you're trying to do, I think is a great lesson for a lot of people.
Totally.
So I did see your son in a Celtics jersey on your Instagram. Who's your son's favorite Celtic?
Oh, Jason Tatum, of course.
Yeah. Well, how about who's dad's favorite Celtic?
So I have a couple. Like you got to look at the generations. So I don't know if you mean like now or, but
I'll let you run with that answer.
Yeah. So I think well, first of all, Larry Bird. Like Larry Bird is just like the legend. Like love Larry Bird.
Larry legend, man.
Yeah, I mean, just beautiful shot and like just so trash talker. But that's not really. I'm not really like that. But he's just a great ball player. But there's a guy, Reggie Lewis, who unfortunately passed away. I met him at a basketball camp when I was a kid, and he was just a really nice, kind guy, along with this dude, Ed Pinckney. And there are some good Celtics along the way.
Tons, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to go to the game at the old Garden?
I think so. Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah.
Okay. How's the new Garden? I've only been to Boston a few times.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's a good venue. The crowd is great there. The crowd loves their Celtics.
Yeah. The Boston fans, you guys might be rivaled by Philadelphia fans as the most passionate / annoying fans in the country.
Dude, I don't know. The Philly fan, well, I'm not going to say anything. They'll probably hunt me down. I'm not going to, knowing those people, I'm not going to say anything, especially after like the Super Bowl and everything. I don't know. They're wild, man. I don't know.
They're diehard, man.
I'm too old for that stuff, man. Like I make it through halftime of like one of the games. I go to bed now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a bandwagon fan. I go to a Dodger game. I'll show up in the second inning, and I'm out by the 7th. So,
dude, that's amazing. I've been wanting to do an event in LA, by the way, for a while.
Let's do it, man.
Let's
talk about it.
I mean, obviously, there's been like I was looking at this year too, like this spring, but obviously with everything going on, I felt terrible about everything going on. So it's going to be tabled, but I really do want to do it because I feel like I've connected with a lot of Los Angeles lawyers, and I think I'd love to meet them, if they'd show up, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. So that's definitely on the table for some point.
Yeah, I think you're doing it right. You're starting out locally, and then it'll start snowballing, and you'll start having a West Coast tour and maybe like a Texas tour.
That's awesome. Yeah, Texas would be cool too, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Maybe a Chicago stop too to hit the Midwest belt. Our community is small. There's a lot of lawyers in the country, but you tend to realize how small the world is when you start meeting these people, and we all have stories, and it's nice when we get together. And not all, like some events I hate going to because you start hearing about like, oh, I did this in trial, or I got this deposition. I don't want to hear that. I want to just talk to people. So I shy away from a lot of the traditional legal events because I want to be into that. I want to go and enjoy the humans beyond the.
Dude, you'd love it. You got to get to one of our events at some point.
I'm coming, man. It's on my radar.
If definitely if we do LA at some point.
Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there for sure. But I do like to travel, so I think maybe I'll come out to one of your events maybe in the summer, and we'll chop it up and have some fun. Favorite New England pastime? I know you're a big New England guy. I got in Maine too. So what?
You've been to Maine?
I have been to Maine. I have family up there.
What part?
They live in Bangor.
Bangor, yeah. All right, that's where. Bangor's like 2 or so hours from where I grew up, like near the University of Maine. So, my favorite.
Sorry, I was just thinking. I drove there in the fall, man. I was just blown away by all the colors in the fall. So,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's beautiful. So, I didn't really grow up doing like traditional Maine activities because my parents are from New York. I think that's why. One thing I used to love growing up is playing like tackle football in the snow with my friends. Like we'd have some like ridiculous games of just snow football. So that was probably my favorite New England pastime.
Okay, I was gonna say you don't feel like you have the Maine vibe. You got more of the New York swag behind you a little bit. So now that I get that. I used to get that like a lot in like college and stuff, or not college, but
maybe actually law school. I would get that, not college. I was pretty hippie in college. So.
Hey, we all take our own paths. So in your 200 plus interviews, I know you've had some pretty fun stories, some big people. Who are some people that you're looking forward to interviewing?
I mean, I have some people lined up that are going to be great. Nobody likes famous or really like, I don't think like out there totally. So maybe I'll have a couple more of those at some point, or like one more of those. So I don't know, like I'm just looking forward to keeping it going as long as I can. You know, people wanting to come on the show and like make content and share their story with us.
That's neat. And then, do you have any plan for Law Stories Connect? Do you see a vision or where that might take you in the next 5 years if you're still doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to keep getting members. I mean, memberships is like, it's hard to get people to buy in. Like you gotta, remind them a little bit. You don't want to be annoying about it, but lawyers are busy, so yeah. The cost of it is like the cost of a cocktail, literally like 2 cocktails at like a bar. It's not crazy per month, and we're just kind of trying to build. I mean, I would love to have multiple CLEs that people can go to our library. Like the members can just go to the library, do a CLE, be done with it, Yeah,
totally.
Just meet each other through the website. Be like, hey, I saw your member Lawyer Stories Connect. I'm this person, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's meet, So that's what I'm hoping it'll go into.
Okay. Thanks, man. We did kind of talk about this in the beginning. We kind of came out of the time when it was more of a traditional law approach, but you kind of took an unconventional route. For people that aren't necessarily going to do the traditional firm, go work and be an associate, what are some pieces of advice that you can give to them just in your own journey and in speaking to over 200 people about different paths people take?
Make sure you know, like, financially what you're getting into with law school. This is just, I guess, law school advice, like, or people who aren't going to take a path like the traditional path. Know like why you're going to law school. Like if you don't have a traditional path, like if you don't want to be a trial lawyer or like a transactional lawyer, know what you want to do and have a connection there and work your way to do that. And find somebody who you want to be like find somebody who's doing the work that you want to do rather. And then just kind of latch on and try to like learn everything you can or get a job or, learn as much as you can. Make your law school work for you too. You pay them enough. Like they should be, don't let them tell you that you need to just get your grades up, because especially when they tell you explicitly on their wall that they help people, the 100% of the class get internships. Make sure they are true to their word. Make sure they help you, with their alumni base, connect you to people. And also like, it doesn't hurt if you can find somebody to like, if you have a parent or a relative who wants to pay for your law school, like that's huge. Go to a law school that you're not going to be in ridiculous debt with. That's another piece of advice.
The cost of law school now is like a freaking mortgage. So
yeah,
it's a heavy investment for a lot of people. And I think you just have to be open to all opportunities if you don't know what you want to do.
Right. Totally.
Well, man, I think you're an inspiration for a lot of people that, went to law school and they didn't know what they wanted to do. And you're a testament to just keeping your eyes open and follow your passion and project. And I just want to say congratulations to you, man. It's really inspiring to see people who are not going the traditional route, having fun, doing work and making an impact on people's lives, not only lawyers, but in what you're doing with your day job. You're tackling both fronts.
That. Thanks so much. Really, that's really nice of you, man. It's so cool to reconnect. Congrats on your podcast. And all your success, dude. And, we're definitely going to stay in touch now from here on out.
Definitely. And we'll see each other at an event.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love it.
All right, buddy. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me on a Sunday, and tell your wife and kids thank you for letting me steal you for about an hour.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks so much.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Quirky Podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into another inspiring journey and found some nuggets of wisdom to take with you. If you love this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. You can find all our episodes on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube. Until next time, stay curious, be inspired, and keep carving your own unique path. Catch you on the next episode of Quirky Podcast.